So now that I'm recording, let me repeat what I said. We're just going to the final project tonight. I'm a little under the weather, but I wanted to get this out to you guys so you understand what's going on. The final project is found under week 3, because that's when you're supposed to start it. So if you go here and click on that link, you'll see this comes up the final option. Um, this is just trying to sell you on it. Over here, when you click on this link, here are the actual requirements. And I want to go over these. Um, okay. So the purpose of the final project is to give you guys an opportunity to plan out and design an entire database by yourself, well, with me and with other members of the class. So you come up with an idea of a database that you think should exist in the world. The best example I give, and if I've given you one already, I apologize. Like, like 20 years ago, I was sitting at a Chili's with my friend, and the waitress came over, and this is when 2005. Now, before that, like 30 years ago. I'm old. Okay, so 30 years ago, we're sitting in Chili's, and the waitress comes over with our check, and this is when tablets were just starting to be a thing. They weren't like everywhere, and I turned to my friend and said, "Wouldn't it be great if there was just a tablet at this table that we could order and pay through? That would be fantastic." And if I had done anything about it, I would still be teaching this class, but I would be much wealthier than I am right now. So um, there are, and now in the day and age we live in, like coming up with an app that does something cool, it may not make you a millionaire, but you can put that on the app store, right? Um, so I had one student a couple of years ago. I pinged them every once in a while. Said they had this great app, a database idea. I think I said they designed a database that tracks their food storage, which is pretty common, something that we do. But they also added a segment of it that was a recipe database and linked the two together. So they could write a query that basically said, "What do I have the ingredients to make?" And it would return a list of stuff. So, and there have been people who their parents or they own companies that they need a database or an application for. We're not focusing as much as the application as we are the back end. Okay. So come up with an idea that this would be really cool if this database existed. It could be, if you collect something. Like last year, someone did a database on cross stitching to 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 catalog cross stitching patterns, the threads that were used, how long it took to do, and pictures of the final products that they did. So anything that you can think of will work. Um, So the first thing you have to give me is a business concept proposal. It's just like, here's the business, here's the purpose, and an outline of what you want it to do. It's very simple. Um, you can do that, and you want to start work on this now because it takes about 10 weeks to do this right. Unless you like, being up against a wall and panicking. Um, this is the time to start with this. So kind of noodle around this. Think of things like this would be kind of cool. I collect this or I do this. Some other examples have been people did a scheduling database for their kids. Um, People did a checkout database for a little library. Anything along those lines. And again, we're just focusing on the back end. So once you have the idea of what you want to do, you need to start designing the database. And we'll do that next week. We'll go through a database, how to design a database. We'll pick a topic and I'll design the database with you guys and ask you questions about normalization and how we do that. And so you got to design the table. What are the tables going to be in it? Try not to go over 10 tables. That seems to be the magic number. So I think I told you guys when I used to design database in in-person classes millions of years ago, I would start on one end of the room and work all the way around until I got to match the corners. And in 3 hours, we'd have 60, 70 tables, depending on what we were designing. I found in the last 5 or 6 years that once you hit 10, you immediately go to like 35. So anywhere between like 9 and 11, stop there with the tables that you're going to do. And then what'll happen is, as you let me know what you're doing and you show me your progress, I will say, hey, maybe you do this table here, maybe add this table here. I'll give you guidance and insight during your weekly check-ins, and we'll talk about those in a second. So in Workbench, you're going to create the database. You're going to create the foreign keys, the primary keys. You're going to create the constraints, and you're going to script it out. So when you are using MySQL here, right? And we'll use this next week. I'm just going to show you this now. If you go here to File and do New Model, it'll give you this beautiful blank space here. And you can just start creating things, like take this table, bring it over here. And when you double click it, you start putting the title and the columns here. So you design it all in here. Because once this is done, you can reverse engineer this into the code to make the database. So you don't actually have to write the code. We live in a world where things can be automated, and we're just going to automate what we can. We don't want to have to write the code if we don't want to. So you do all your data, you do all your data tables here, you put all your connectors there, you design everything out, you go up to here and you go to forward engineer, and then it'll print out your code for you. And then in addition to the business proposal that you'll send me, you send me a picture of what this is called the ERD, Entity Relationship Diagram. You send me a picture of this. Screenshot, whatever it is. Don't send me the database, and please don't embed it in the PowerPoint presentation. Send me as a separate file so I can look at it. It's hard for me to zoom in a PowerPoint presentation to see what the database are and how the links are and how everything works. Okay, so database proposal, ERD picture, the data to create the database. The next thing you need to do is write code to populate the data, the tables. Because eventually you're going to write queries against it so I can see what you're doing. So data needs to be in there. Here I have between 10 and 15 rows of data. It's pretty easy to do that. If you're doing 10 tables, you're writing 10 insert statements with 10 values. So it'll take you about 15, 20 minutes. Not a big deal. And you can cheat over here because I don't know if I showed you guys, but when you're over here in your code and you go over to actor here and you go to create, nope, what do I want here? I want send to SQL editor, click insert statement, it writes it for you. You just fill in the blanks. So you keep this part here and then you just do the multiple values on the bottom. All right. So number 2, database population. Code to fill with data. This next thing, these CRUD statements. I need to update this a little bit to make sure that this is understood. I want you to write queries. You'll do the insert statements from up here. You're going to write SQL statements down here. But I want you to, when you do your case studies down here, okay? These case studies are queries that you would write. Sorry, I can't do it. Let's do it 3 because I can't change it. I want you to write queries that would represent how you would use the database. Like, for example, the one with the recipes and the food storage, write a query like select all recipes where we have the ingredients for. Select all recipes that use canned peas or whatever it is, right? And I want to know what the justification for those are. Okay. So you write 3 queries and create 2 views for aggregating data. So this is all about this part. These 2 here are all about showing me how you would use the data. Upon completion of that, I need a PowerPoint presentation. It can either be a PowerPoint presentation or a short 3 to 5 minute video that explains what you did and why, and you just walk me through it, like an elevator pitch. That term makes sense? I don't know if that makes sense anymore. Elevator pitch. You have like 3 minutes to sell me on it. And that's the final project. Um, it's I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of work uh, parsed over 10 weeks. It really allows you to get creative and try to figure out how databases work, how you build them, and how you. When I started initially teaching this class back when it was using Oracle, which was a nightmare, um, it was still called database administration design, but we didn't give you guys opportunity to design anything. And even with the way we've redone the writing assignments now, you're really not designing anything on your own. You're you're following a specific set of instructions on how to do it, where there's value in it because if you become a DBA, um, you're going to have a stakeholder who's going to tell you what to do, and you're just going to do what they say to do. There's not a whole lot of creativity that goes into that world. So this project is your chance to just get creative and kind of do something fun. I'm weird, I know. I like to me designing databases is fun. Um, so um, so yeah, so this is just a chance to enjoy and change. So if you choose to do the final project starting this week, you will no longer do the prescribed writing assignments as is, unless you want to. That's entirely up to you. But in those writing assignments, it's just basically communication with me, our weekly check-ins to let me know where you're at with with your final project. Show me your ERD so I see where you're at. I give you some suggestions, ask any questions to me. I'll give you some feedback. It's just kind of like a what do I want to say? It's like an investor's consultation. Let me know where you're at. Okay. Um, so so yeah, so this week if you choose to do that, then just start the writing assignment saying, hey, this week I thought about it. I want to do, here's 3 ideas I have for my database. Which do you think would work best? I really want to do this one. If you only have one idea you want to do it, go with it. I'm not going to, unless it's something like, I want to do a database called Tequila and it's about tracking movies and actors. I'm gonna say no to that. But if you want to do something, whatever it is, I've never said no to an idea. I will tell you, and I've told people in the past that they got way too complicated. Um, One person wanted to do a genealogy site. I'm like, no, that's leave that to the church. They know what they're doing. That is one database I've always wanted to get my hands on. I want to see the genealogy database the church uses. Um, I actually had a student in my class 3 years ago who worked for Family Search, and I'm like, because of NDAs, he couldn't get me the schema to see, which made me sad. But he told me it was as complicated as I thought it was, so that was good. So that's pretty much all I had for you guys today. Do you guys have any questions on the final project? Timelines, thoughts? Are you planning on doing the final project? Yay! Joe, you can do it. You'll like it. Trust me. If nothing else, you get out of the writing assignments. And like, I'll be honest with you, like I've had people like they say they're gonna do it, then like on week 12, they're like, hey, I don't have time to do this. My goldfish died. So I'm just gonna do the final exam. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be mad at you. But I think everyone who's done the final project has enjoyed it, and it's a unique experience that we have. So, all right. If you guys have no questions, I'm gonna cut it off here. So, what I'm gonna do in the code for this week's assignment, the what I was gonna show you is was a refresher of what we did last week with one change. There's one command added called having. So what I'm gonna do is the code I was going to demo to you today. I'm gonna put in the announcement that goes with the video, and then next week we'll talk about those things in addition to what we do because next week is joins week, and that's a fun week when we start putting tables together and we start getting bigger queries, getting more data out. So if y'all have no other questions, I'm going to go medicate and sleep. All right, guys. Thanks for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. The attrition rate starts to drop here, so I hope I'll see you guys every week. So take care.
Feel better.
Thanks so much.